Morning, everyone. I figured I would do another quick update on the XJ. Currently, I have the front clip off because I'm doing HVAC hoses. That's one of the last things that I have to do, HVAC, and then the front drive shaft is what's missing. If you notice, I did move the intake from the cowl. It was just way too loud, and I'll insert a clip here on how loud it is. But she drives great. Being connected to an AW4, it is slower than the XJ, than the CJ because of mechanical coupling through the clutch. This is currently running just a tune that I've kind of made up myself, but I will be getting a Tektronix tune next month to get everything dialed in the way it's supposed to. It does run really well, and I'll insert a clip of it kind of driving. And so I've driven it, I think, about 26 miles according to the 1-gauge display that I currently have installed. So like I said, it works. Like I said, the AW4, it's nice. It's convenient having an automatic, but it's different. It's a different animal. I still have the Toyota Tacoma transmission that I need to pull the valve body from and install in the AW4 so I can delete the TV cable and control everything through the CompuShift. If you do decide to go that route, my recommendation would be to get the harness for the A340, which I have over in the corner, as opposed to spending an additional $400, $395 for the AW4. This works perfectly fine, but I like the cleanliness and the functionality of having the ability to control the valve body manually. So excuse the mess, this is all temporary. One of the things that I keep getting asked a lot about is the dash that I have. So this is just the regular XJ dash that I modified to be able to carry a 7-inch Nextion screen for the 1-gauge setup, which the hub is down there. I mean, it seems to be fast and responsive, but it is definitely not in certain circumstances. You can see we've picked up GPS signal. The GPS is actually up there on the dash, showing that we're moving, even though, of course, we're sitting still. And that's one of the problems that I kind of ran into with this. And I'll insert a clip here. I was driving the XJ, and it said I was doing 14 miles an hour at a stop sign. Then I turned the corner and I gave it a little bit of throttle, and it still said I was doing 14 miles an hour. And then eventually jumped up to 40, 50, or 60. I can't remember off the top of my head. But this is the clock. And although I built this myself, I used one of the clock templates from one of the other, because it comes with a bunch of different gauges. I've disabled all of them. So normally these buttons will switch between. But I honestly, I can't recommend it. So instead I've ordered a Speed Hut gauge, which should be here in the next 3 to 4 weeks, and I'm running one of these, although this could in theory cover 90 to 95% of all of my needs. And I have a second one coming from Australia that has trans temp and intake air temperature intake air temp. I do also want to have just a speedometer with an odometer that sits in front of me. One of the biggest gripes I have is, these are the wires that came. Some of them came with the sensor, with the 1-gauge hub. Some of them I bought because it is expandable. You should be able to expand it. I initially only bought it, and this was my foolish mistake. I initially only bought it for intake air temperature, trans temperature, and coolant pressure. And then when I realized I had all these extra ports I can tie into, I bought all the sensors, and then come to the realization that it has to be programmed. But then the first device that was shipped to me was destroyed in transit, and that's no one's fault. I mean, it's UPS's fault, but it's not 1-gauge or my fault. The second one came in, and then when I went to go test it all out, turned out the Arduino, which you had to disassemble the whole thing, unwire the whole thing to get to the bottom of it, just for ease, was dead. So Michael graciously ordered me, a replacement Arduino from Amazon. It came in, I tossed it in, I programmed it, and it worked fine. I mean, it worked as it was designed, but still, like the delay you just saw there and the one in the video that I showed, it just isn't something that I necessarily want to deal with. In addition to, you know, this tremendous amount of wires, it just, to me, it wasn't worth it. I'll just run, I'm gonna say, these clones and a speed hut gauge, and that'll be that. So I ended up moving the intake here, which I don't necessarily like. Really don't have much options. I mean, I could tuck it over this way and pop off this cover that was here from the factory, but then the air would have to go around the headlights. So like I said, we'll see what the intake air temps are telling me, and I'll kind of go from there. Additionally, I've thought about moving the ECU kind of like where the Volkswagen had it, you know, 3D print a box, kind of cut that out more so I can put that in and mount it in with the wiring coming out. But I just loomed it all up and it looks real pretty, so I don't know, we'll see. Still ways to go, but she drives really well. I'm very, very happy. Initially I thought that maybe I would sell this thing when I was done, but it's looking like I just enjoy driving this thing so much that more than likely I will not. But again, we'll see. So now I have two, not as many as Kyle, and of course I like Jeeps, but it's coming along. So best of luck in your swap.